I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the Quantum Thinking Sales Bootcamp training. And we've got a lot going over. So we're going to move fast today. Like there's a lot that's going to hit us really, really quick. So let's start off. Kenny, what you got?
Luke's gonna talk a little bit about training, but if like for me, if when I see a person or I would work with a person, there's like key things that I look for. And when I so my brother's starting this morning and I'm comfortable with him on his skill set, but I don't know on his leadership skills. And if what I guess what would be the best approach in that scenario, just to kind of throw him in and see how he does, or give him a little bit of help and
Yeah, good
tips.
questions. Yeah, so there's advantages to both throwing him in as long as you watch him closely. So if you're going to just throw him in and let him sink or swim, it's okay to do that as long as you're watching him closely. So you don't ever want to just throw somebody into the pond and just say, "Oh, they know how to swim." If you're going to do that, you watch them close. I mean, really close. And you can do that even if you're not there. Hey, give me an update in an hour or 4 hours, whatever. Just text me or call me or something. Just say, hey, this was going well. And then you're looking at one to tens. One to tens are really powerful. One to 10, how did they go? What's your ups? What's your thing you like the most, struggling with? Those are systems that do it. Preparing somebody, that's okay too. And so it's not so much which of those two strategies you use. The key is to watch people carefully and let them know that. And so that helps them to know, hey, people have confidence in me, but I have help and I'm not alone. And then you check out, they call it a 360, so it's 360 degrees around, and you check other people. Once the life GPS in the future, using the life GPS AI, that will help immensely. I mean, just like crazy, based on personalities, so everybody can see here's the new person, here's what it is, and that kind of stuff. The key is in a culture of honesty. Hey, if you have an issue, you have concern, like with the terrorist stuff at the airport, you see something, you say something. I mean, it's a great culture. You see something, you say something. So everybody tends to think, well, I didn't like that, or this was a mistake, or this, but I don't have to say anything. It'll get better. In my experience, it's like a leaky pipe. It never fixes itself. It's just not. You got to go ahead and say, hey, see something, say something. It's not personal. Like Elise said, key to working with Mark Boersma is don't ever take anything personal. Just don't. And so I think that's true with everybody. Everybody should be able to have a voice, and maybe it's a big deal, maybe it's not a big deal. But the point is, you got to be able to say it. Luke, what you got?
What do you look for when you have somebody that's not leadership position, just a worker coming on as a trial? Like, what do we look for in that trial to see if we want to bring them on full time?
Well, we want to bring him on full time. So when somebody jumps in, we're on. We're not a cynic. We're there. Like we want them to do it. That doesn't mean we bring them on. But I think, they're under more pressure than we are. Probably they want to join probably more. So it's the same principle as Kenny said. And you go ahead and ideally you go ahead and are putting them through the life GPS pre. You give them an option. Hey, here's some stuff that you could go through and see if they go through. And so here's the culture. Here's the vision of Dreamscape. Here's some key pieces. So if there were 5 things that you guys could have people know before they join Dreamscape, before day one in the future, like sometimes at Preferred Mortgage Associates, when I was building the sales force, I mean, they would be somebody would want to join, and I wouldn't bring somebody on unless they were 3 people at least. So 3 new salespeople, I'd have to have 3. So some people would join, but they'd wait a month or 2 months before I had the full, training team. So I'd have stuff to keep them busy for a month or two. The more you can get them indoctrinated, understanding, trained, wisdom, insight, you give them opportunities and see how much initiative they take for the future. So you get out in front of it. You get out in front of things into the future. You say, okay, how do I go ahead? Well, this is what we've had. Here's the 5 biggest things we've had in the past. So how do you know what to do in the future? You look at the past and say, here are things that we've seen. How do you prevent those things from happening? Kevin, what you got? Katrina, what you got?
Don't have anything.
Okay. So you'll always have something. So, like always. And so I can teach you how to go ahead, like Tim, my son, when he was 5, my youngest son, when he was 5. You always have, there's questions about life and about everything that connects in with everything. And so, um, I don't know how to help you all absorb things. So this is, week 2 starting. It's Monday. Did you guys all go ahead and make sure over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that you did a review of last week and then you've got this week planned out? You know what's happening Monday, Tuesday. Not that you're going to follow that plan 100%, but that you've got a good idea. And the disciplines, like in Good to Great, disciplined people, disciplined thinkers, discipline in taking action. And so because I'm a driver personality, I just have a natural ability to go ahead and see things into the future, but people don't listen well. So they don't listen well. They don't, it's like, yeah, no, I got this. And so I looked up before on biases, cognitive biases. This is how we think. And so they say there's no single number, but researchers and psychologists have identified over 175 to 180 distinct cognitive biases. These are systematic patterns of deviation from rationality and judgment. So, so what we do is one is information overload. With too much data to process, we filter out what doesn't fit our existing worldview. This is confirmation bias. We think something's true and it's not. So I had a client that did a full-blown X-ray, um, a leadership X-ray, executive X-ray, and then he didn't move forward with action vision. I said, I think that's probably not the smartest. I think you should. He says, well, my intuition is saying no. I said, has your intuition ever been wrong before? He's like, nope. I said, okay, well, I hope you're right. And then he was really honest with me, which I love honesty. You guys all know that. And he says, Mark, I don't trust you. And it's okay. Like, that's okay that he said that. Like, I'm fine. Like, okay, good. It's okay. And I said, do you know what it is? And he's like, I don't. I just don't. And I'm like, okay. So 4 months, that was 4 months ago. And so he called me on Friday and we talked and he says, yeah, there's been a big change of plan. And so he worked for a company, and turned him around and now they're letting him go. And he's fine-ish. I mean, he's gonna, but they're giving him 5 months notice, everything's fine, and he's gonna go ahead and kind of transition over. But he didn't see that. So what happens is in confirmation bias, we see something, we see somebody as a good person, and they are a good person. We see somebody as a bad person, they are a bad person. So how we see things can actually impact people. There's actually a weird situation happened with 2 school teachers. They had 2 groups, and one school teacher was told this is a problem, a low group of people, low educated. The other one said that, this is a high group of people, and they were in the same school or something like that. And the teachers got confused, and the teacher that went ahead and thought that they had the smart students, the students were smart. The teacher who thought they had the not so smart students didn't. So how we think of other people is very powerful. But in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Kenny and I read that one together, and you can read books together. Like when you do that, it's like going on a camping trip together. I mean, it bonds you together, helps you to see and understand because you experience new experiences together. And it's how we go ahead. I think it was talking to people from Malcolm Gladwell and how we have we want to believe in people and we miss signs that should. And as a vice president of sales, I told after a year and a half built a system for recruiting and training salespeople, and I told the team, the president, vice president, I said, "Hey, um, you know, I've got the team. You guys have got to staff up," and they didn't want to staff up, and I understand why. But I said, "You guys aren't going to be able to do this, and you guys aren't going to be able to keep up." And they're like, "We'll be able to keep up." I'm like, "I'm just telling you, you won't." And they didn't. And the salespeople had to come in and help operations, process things. Man, was I ticked. But at the end of the year, we had 30% growth. And I'm like, well, that's great, but we could have had 50 or 60 or 70% growth. So people want to be right. The ego is so strong that they want to be right. And so they're wrong, but they have enough data. So this gentleman, I talked to him on Friday, and it was just interesting because I said, you he said, well, I'm glad I didn't go on coaching 4 months ago. I said, why is that? And he said, well, because I'd have wasted all that money. I said, well, that's one way to think about it. I said, another way to think about it, you wouldn't be in this situation if you had. He's like, I didn't think of that. I'm like, right? He says, you think we could have avoided this situation? I'm like, absolutely. There's a whole bunch of indicators that would have indicated this thing was going to happen. And I mean, we'll probably do a whole case study on this where this guy missed so many things. Why? Because in the white paper trust, we trust people we shouldn't. We don't trust people we should. We trust ourselves when we shouldn't. We don't trust ourselves when we should. And so on the Army casualty principle, when there's a death on the battlefield in the Army, they do research to find out why. Well, if you don't even realize there's a death, like one of the things that I'm really on now, and we're tight on time, so we'll pick it up. But there's a 15-year-old Amish girl and her mom that were at the event, and I asked, I said, they were just sitting there, and I said, what do a mom and daughter, what does a 15-year-old daughter talk with their mom about? I had a great conversation with both of them, especially the girl. Like the mom just kind of laughed, but there was something that was very, very significant. And I think it might have cracked the code. So a 15-year-old girl helped me to understand something about deep relationships, deep friendships, because I'm curious. So anybody else have anything else? All right, lots to go over. Make sure that you guys have your art mentor, art buddy, the art tree, all of those type of things. Make sure if you're getting up and going on the quantum boot camp, make sure that you go ahead and are going through some courses like the leverage course or the personality mastery course, and go through with at least two other people. Because they'll see things you won't see, you'll see things they don't see, and you'll have an experience that will bond you. Have a relationship for life in business, and boy, I wish when I was you guys' age that I had that. That would have been just so very cool. Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.